This is the review for the Chapter 10 Quiz 2. This covers sections 10.5 and 10.6. All that you are doing in all of these questions is putting numbers in order from least to greatest. Remember that least means the smallest number, greatest means the biggest number. So from left to right, from smallest to biggest. Positive numbers are very easy to tell in order from least to greatest. Positive numbers go like this. If you think about a number line, positive numbers go in order from left to right, smallest to biggest. You have to remember that negative numbers go backwards when you're talking about smallest to biggest. The more negative a number is, the smaller it actually is. The farther away it is from zero on the number line, the smaller it is. So if you think about a number line, -4 is the smallest number up here. +4 is the biggest number up here. If we only take a look at the negative numbers right here, -4 would be the smallest because that's the farthest away from zero. -1 would be the largest number. So negative numbers sort of work backwards. I would suggest making the numbers look like money. All right. 99% of the time, you'll be able to get away with just making the numbers look like money. Every once in a while, you'll have to go to a third decimal place or a fourth decimal place. But for most problems, you won't. Go ahead and try question number 1, please. Go ahead and try question number 1. Put that in order from least to greatest. Go ahead and try question number 1, please. So again, I would strongly suggest making these numbers look like money. 7.351 is like $7.35. 7.3 repeating. This is like $7.33. There would be a 3 after this 3 because that 3 is repeating. Then we have $7.05. That one doesn't change at all. 7.4, remember that when it's a terminating decimal, a decimal that stops, we can always add a 0 onto the end. So that 7.4 is really $7.40. So our lowest number here, the lowest amount of money, is $7.05. So that number would come first. Your next biggest number would be $7.33. When I write it, I'm going to put 7.3 repeating. The next biggest number would be $7.35. So 7.351. And then our biggest amount of money would be the 740. So that is in order from smallest to biggest. Be very, very careful on this one. Remember, negative numbers go backwards. So the farther away it is from zero on the number line, the smaller it actually is. Go ahead and try number 2, please. So the only one that doesn't look like money already is this third one. 1.4 repeating would just have another 4 after it. So like -144. The one that is farthest away from zero on the number line, the most negative number, is this -1.4. The next biggest number would be -1.35. The next biggest number would be -1.33. And our biggest number there, the one that is closest to zero on the number line, would be -1.22. So negative numbers go backwards, all right? Negative numbers go backwards. So you'll have some questions on your quiz that look like that are already in decimal form. You'll notice that on these other 4 questions, you need to make them into decimals first. Go ahead and do question number 3. Now, remember, in question number 3, when you go to type in the square root of 50, you have to hit the second button, then the x squared button, which is really your square root button, then your 50. If you go to use a device and type that into the calculator, you would have to hit 50 and then hit the 2 with the square root symbol. When you go to do the percent at the end, you would type in 725, hit the second button, and then the left-hand side parenthesis button. That is your percent symbol. If you're using a device, you can't use the percent symbol. You have to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Go ahead and do number 3, please. The square root of 50. When you type it into the calculator, you get approximately 7.07. I wouldn't write out the big, long, ugly decimal. I would write it in terms of money. All right. If we need to add another decimal place later on, we could. 7 1/5. When you have a mixed number like this, the big number goes in front of the decimal point. So our 7 goes in front of the decimal point. Then you have to do top divided by bottom for your fraction. So you have to do 1 divided by 5, top divided by bottom. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. Ignore the 0. Whatever's after the decimal point goes after the decimal point. So this 0.2 goes after the decimal point. I'm going to add a 0 after it just to make it look like money. So it's $7.20. 775, I could just leave it as 775. And then 725%, type that into the calculator, you get 7.25, or you could move the decimal point 2 places to the right and get 7.25. So those are the numbers that we have. Our lowest amount of money out of these 4 at the top is $7.07. So that is the square root of 50. The next biggest one would be $7.20, or 7 1/5. The next biggest amount would be 725, or 725%. And then our biggest one is 775. Go ahead and try this next one. Go ahead and try number 4, please. Change them into decimals first. In this particular problem, you will have to go to the 3rd decimal place. All right, you're going to have 2 of them that if you make it look like money, they would be the same thing. So you will have to go to a 3rd decimal point. So in question number 4, 6/7. 6 divided by 7, top divided by bottom, 6 divided by 7. If you make it look like money, you're going to see that it looks like 85 cents. 85%. When you type that into the calculator, it's going to look like 85 cents. Now, are these 2 things actually the same? No. All right. Remember that I made this first one look like money. I chopped off, it was really a good, big, long, ugly decimal. I chopped off a number here. The next number here is really a 7, where the next number here is really a 0. So sometimes you will have to go to that 3rd decimal place. 0.8 repeating is, if we make it look like money, 0.88, because that 8 repeats. And the square root of 0.7, if we make it look like money, looks like 83 cents. So 83 cents would be our lowest amount of money. So the one that would go first is the square root of 0.7. The one that would go next is either 85 cents or 85 cents, but it's 85 cents with the 0 compared to 85 cents with a 7. The 0 is lower than the 7, so this 85% would go next. The next one would be the 85 cents with the 7, so the next number would be 6/7. And then our biggest number is 88 cents, which is 0.8 repeating. So again, sometimes you will have to go to that next decimal place. In question number 5, we have our first cube root. Remember, to type in the cube root, you have to hit 3, then the second button, then the caret button, then 99. 3, second button, caret button, 99. If you go to use a device calculator, you have to hit the 3 little lines. Then you have to hit scientific because you got to change it to the scientific calculator. Then you have to type in the number 99, hit the second button, and then the cube root button. All right, the cube root. It looks like the square root, but it has a 3 with it. So that's how you type that into the calculator. Go ahead and try number 5, please. So if we make this look like money, the cube root of 99, the cube root of 99 is approximately $4.62. The square root of 22 is approximately $4.69. 20.4 repeating, or sorry, 20.4%. If we move the decimal point over 2 places or type it into the calculator and make it look like money, it looks like 20 cents. 4 and 4/11. The big number goes in front of the decimal point. So that 4 goes in front of the decimal point. Then you have to do top divided by bottom. 4 divided by 11, you get 0.36. So that 0.36 goes after the decimal point. Your lowest number here would be 20 cents, which is 20.4%. Our next biggest number out of 462, 469, and 436 is 436. So that one would go next. Then our next biggest is the 462, or the cube root of 99. And then the biggest number is the 469, or the square root of 22. Go ahead and try that last one. Now remember, in that last one, all of them are negative. So the more negative number is the smallest number. The most negative number, the one that's farthest away from 0 on the number line, is smallest number. Negative 8.5. All that I have to do is add a 0 after the 5. So that looks like negative 850. Negative 8 and 8/9. The negative 8 goes in front of the decimal point. You have to do top divided by bottom. 8 divided by 9. You get 0.88 after it. negative 825%. Either type it into the calculator or move the decimal point 2 places to the left. You get negative 8.25. The negative square root of 64. Now make sure that when you type it into the calculator, you're typing in negative second button, x squared button, and then 64. If you put the negative sign right in front of the 64, you'll get an error on the calculator. You have to type in the negative sign first, or just type in the square root of 64 and just make your answer negative. All right, it all works the same way. You should get a negative 8 as your answer. If we want to make it look like money, I would add the zeros onto the end so it looks like negative $8. The more negative a number is, the farther away it is from zero on the number line, the smallest it actually is. So negative 8.88 or negative 8 8/9 is our smallest number. Our next biggest would be negative 8.5 or negative 850. Our next biggest would be negative 8.25 or negative 825%. And our biggest number would be our negative 8. Or sorry, negative square root of 64. So that is exactly what your 6 quiz questions look like. It's exactly what your homework questions today look like. All that you have to do is change them into decimals and then put them in order from least to greatest.